Hey everybody, Mike here. Wanted to do a quick review on this Honda generator. We've had this thing at work for a couple of years now, so I've got a pretty good handle as to how this thing operates. I'll go ahead and go out here right now and say this is probably the best generator that I've used over the years and all the generators that I've had the opportunity to play with. For the simple fact that this thing weighs in at under 50 pounds, it's actually about 48 to be exact. It's also by far the quietest generator that I've ever operated. Let's go a couple quick features in the panel on the front here real quick. I'll get this thing started up, let you hear what it sounds like, and then I'll show you a couple other things that you might want to know to get you down the road here. So first off, on the front of this generator here, you got your two outlets here. They're both 15 amp outlets. You can get this model also with a 30 amp outlet on it as well. And then they also have a companion generator that's specifically designed to be able to pair two of these together. Down here you see these two ports, and that's how you link two of these together. You plug into these outlets here, and then the companion unit would have a similar setup as well. Down here next to those companion outlets is your eco mode. You can turn that off and on and run this thing in a lower RPM when full load's not needed. Or you can turn that off if you decide you don't like that feature. And then you got your three lights here indicating that your outlets are up and running operational. And then up here is a new feature that they added on to this model. The older model of this didn't have this feature built in, did not have the Bluetooth, and it was about 10% less power than this unit is here. So with the addition of this CO2 minder here, basically this has the opportunity now where it can sniff and monitor the air, and if it senses too much CO2 in the atmosphere, it'll shut itself off until it's physically reset from the button, and then you can operate this thing again once the environment's been aired out. So basically if you're gonna run this in a garage, essentially, it's got that safety feature in mind. If you're running this thing outdoors, you should never have to worry about that thing setting itself off. Now, I said it's got Bluetooth as well. What's kind of neat about that, this will actually link and pair via Bluetooth to the Honda Generator app. And what's neat about that is you can actually see the load on screen. It shows you how many engine hours this thing has run for, and it gives you the opportunity to be able to shut that off from the app as well. That's kind of a neat feature, especially if you're running this thing, say like in a camper scenario, and you're close enough within Bluetooth range, and you're just charging batteries up on the camper or something of that nature. You can shut this thing off without having to go outside and physically shut it off, which I think is actually a pretty neat feature. And then you can also monitor and maintain your maintenance records from that app as well. Now real quick, when you get this thing out of the box, what you'll notice is this panel here, you can take this off with just a simple flathead or even just a coin for that matter. And this will get you to the internals here. This does not come with any engine oil, so you'll have to source that yourself. But here's where your fill is. You basically just fill it up to the top of the threads to get it topped off, tightening back your fill cap again here. Other than that, it's pretty self-explanatory. There's not much on this side you need to worry about. Other than your access panel here on the side, you've also got your on-off switch for your fuel shut-off, your pull handle to start the unit, and then your choke here. On the other side, the only thing you really need to concern yourself with is this access panel right here. That will gain you access to your spark plug when it comes time to change that out during your maintenances. Now, when it comes to starting this thing, it's a pretty easy deal. You flip your switch to on, you fill your choke over. Now, on a cold start, it might take me 3 to 4 times to get this thing to start. I just had this running recently, so it's probably going to start first try here. But that's the nice thing about this Honda unit. It starts pretty easy regardless of whether it's been started once already for the day or if you're starting it for the first time. Once you've got your switch turned on and your choke hit, you just pull your handle and then flip your choke back. I've got this in eco mode right now, so you can see right here, it's idled itself down, and I can sit here and talk over this thing, no problem at all. And then if you flip the eco off, you'll hear that thing idle up just a little bit. Now let me go ahead and shut this back off real quick so we can keep talking. And you saw that green light illuminated down here, just letting you know your outlets were good to go and ready. Now, the nice thing about this unit is if you're running it in the eco mode, which is about 1/4% load, this thing has just under a gallon fuel tank, which means that you can run this for roughly 8 hours on eco mode if you're not running very much load at all. Now in your full max load, this thing can get about 3 hours of runtime on roughly a gallon of fuel. So keep that in mind. If you're running this thing full blast for 8 to 10, 12 hours a day, you're probably going to need to keep a 5-gallon fuel can with you and top this thing off a couple times throughout the day. But this thing's a workhorse. It just keeps going and going. It generates plenty of power for everything we do. We've only had a couple scenarios where we've ran this thing over the limit it can do, and it just immediately shuts itself off, or you trip the breaker, one or the other. But we've been able to run a number of different heaters. We charge our batteries with this thing throughout the day. The nice thing about this being only less than 50 pounds, we're able to carry this, tote this thing around one-handed pretty much everywhere we go. Throw it in the back of a truck, back of a van, you name it. Whereas before we actually had this unit, we were still using those big wheeled units, which take 2 people to lift those things in the back of a truck. And while some of them have a little bit more power that they're capable of doing, this one here is rated around 1800 watts continuous, and some of those bigger units were able to do more than that. We found we don't really need all that much power, and the trade-off in this thing being so light and easy to carry around far outweighs those heavier units. These things are extremely handy whether you're just taking them out to a camping site with you. Your neighbors are definitely going to like you better by running this thing versus one of those big Generac or Champion units that you've seen for years. Not to mention the other number of different versatile ways you can use this thing, whether it be from on the farm or in a shop, on a construction site, or like I said, camping. But we've been more than happy with this thing for the last 2 years. This is by far my favorite unit. The only feature that we really don't use on this quite often is the app with the Bluetooth feature. I feel like that's going to be a lot better in a scenario where you're just one person's using this at a time, or maybe like on a camping setting, like I said, where you don't want to go back outside the camper and shut this off when you're done using it. Other than that, this thing's been more than great. We've been more than happy with it. So if you find yourself in the market looking for a new generator and you come across this video and you're considering the Honda, I'm here to tell you this is by far the best unit I've ever ran. You'll be more than happy with how quiet this thing runs and operates at, and the power that it's capable of producing. That's all I've got for you today, guys. I appreciate you watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.